Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Woods Walk Gun Talk. This is number 6. So we've already done 6 of these. I did not anticipate doing these through the winter, but winter just doesn't want to show up, and I'm not going to complain about it. It's a beautiful day today. It's in the mid-40s. Typically this time of year the high temperature is 18 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't like walking in that. But I can get away with light gloves today. These are the gloves I use to shoot with, by the way. They're just batting gloves. They're not very good for cold weather, but they're pretty good for cool weather and shooting. So anyway, gun topics. Wow, there's a couple. We have Kamala Harris and Biden in the White House. They put Kamala Harris in charge of gun control. Hopefully she does as good a job as she did with border control when she was the border czar. She didn't even go visit the border for a long time. So it looks like it's starting to be recognized by both parties that the border is an issue, even though the Democrats belong to a communist party and they will only support it if Schumer and Biden, or Chairman Mao and his subordinate, okays it. So they're all like little robots. They follow whatever the head cheese says. They don't ask questions and they don't care. So supposedly there's going to be a couple of executive actions coming. Of course, edicts, better known as dictates, aka what dictators say you have to do without Congress. So wow, this tree must have made a hell of a noise. And I know it fell and made a noise because people live there. If you're out in the woods by yourself and you hear a tree fall, it made a noise. If nobody's there, you know, and I never understood that saying because it just doesn't even make sense. Because physics is physics. Of course it made a noise whether someone was there to hear it or not. Anyways, back to Biden and Kamala. They haven't announced what they're going to do, but the White House did put their itinerary for what they want to do with firearm policies. They want to pressure states to pass legislation anti-gun, and that's code word for we want the states to do what we want them to, or we're going to take their federal funding away. So I don't know how effective that'll be. I probably should get back on the trail. This is one of those things where when you have leaves on the ground, it covers the trail. While you're talking, you get lost. So anyway, back to the thing I was talking about. You have this really cool stuff that's on the White House website. I don't have the link, but you can find it if you look. And they talk about their itinerary. They want to do extended background checks and things like that. The same stuff you've been hearing about in the media. It's not a big thrill. Every state that's Democrat's been trying to pass this stuff. And so they're urging states to do it on their own, individually, which tells me many things. One, they know that assault rifles is a dangling carrot for voters that they are never going to pass. And the main reason for that is we've already had enough mass shootings. If anybody was going to get off their ass in Congress and the Senate to pass it, they would have by now. Oh look, I got some frozen icicles there. pretty cool. Still cold at night. There's still patches of snow. We've only had like one storm, and it wasn't much. It was like 4 or 5 inches, maybe 6 inches of snow. And it's all gone now because we had 2 days of rain, and we're gonna have another 2 days of rain this week. You can see how there's ice there. It's nice. It's a nice cool day. I'm dressed in layers. I got a sweat going already. It's pretty nice. So anyways, they don't seem to be really getting gun legislation passed. And I've talked about this in a previous Woods Walk Gun Talk video. I don't remember which one, but they tried to pass stuff in Maine and none of it passed. A couple of pro-gun Republican bills didn't pass either. Nothing passed. I mean, literally nothing. So there was no changes. So constitutional carry, you go into a gun store, you buy a gun, you leave with it as soon as the FBI background check is done. Per the federal law, so nobody's violating any laws. They haven't added anything new, like 72-hour waiting periods, changing the age limit to buy firearms. They're encouraging people in states to do that, which tells me, I think at some point they realize this, you can't buy a firearm at 18 or 19 years old is probably going to lose in some kind of court. As well it should. So, perfect example is my great nephew is, and what is a great nephew? Well, my brother, one of my brothers is 10 years older than me. His children had children. So, she was already my niece, the mother of my great nephew, if that makes sense. So anyway, I think we'll go up this way. I don't think I've gone this way yet. So anyway, he's 19 years old. He owns firearms. And I was talking to him about that, and he was like, he stopped over and visited a couple months back. And he was going to college here, stopped in to visit, and was telling me about firearms, and I'm talking to him about mine, and he said he'd like to get one of those. And I had to think for a minute. I had to remember, oh yeah, he's 19. He's not allowed anymore. So I told him, I said, how do you feel about being 19 years old enough to vote on gun laws, but you can't go buy a gun? And he just shook his head. He is so disgusted with the government. He hates both parties, Republican and Democrat, and he said he's a voter. I think right now both parties are creating a bunch of independents, and they're also creating a bunch of libertarians, much in the vein of Rand Paul. Excuse me. And that has how America has always been. Well, let's go down here and look at this little bridge. We got a nice little stream that's flowing. Some icicles in it underneath that wood. That's pretty cool. And anyway, this stream goes all the way down and feeds that little pond we walked around. Oh, it's cool like this. It gets the nose running. I mean, it feels like it's warm because it's 45 degrees, but 45 is not exactly toasty. But anyways, so he's not happy. I think what the government has done is they have rightfully pissed off a bunch of young people that are not the brain dead, brainwashed, far left extremist lunatics protesting in favor of Hamas. I still can't wrap my head around that. I'm not going to get into that because YouTube will probably censor my video over it. That is how crazy these people are. That we are relegated to using a far left extremist platform like Google, because that's the medium readily available. Although, I need to urge people to check out Rumble. I need to start putting content on there. And the problem with that is there's only so many hours in a day. And it takes a long time, even with a fast internet, to upload stuff. Especially a Woods Talk, something that's an hour, hour and a half. It takes a long time to upload. Hours. Between editing, processing it for YouTube, it's almost like you have to upload it 3 times. Even though you only upload it once, because you have to do other stuff. Oh, here's an icy patch I need to watch out for so I don't break my can. Anyway, Tucker Carlson just opened up a Rumble channel, official one. And he'll be able to do all this stuff there he wants to do. You already know YouTube's going to censor him, so I don't even think he bothered with YouTube at all. And I think that's going to be the trend. You're going to see a divided country on everything. You're going to see a divided country on banking. You know, I don't like using PayPal. I deleted my PayPal account. I have Google Pay. I don't like Google. I don't use it. And, you know, credit card companies or debit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, they're all woke, far left extremists. There's really nothing you can do unless you can find a way to mail cash to somebody in Germany to buy a vinyl record, like the old days. And the postage for that costs so much now. Plus you'd have to insure it. And it would cost more than what you're buying if somebody stole your money. So I don't think anybody would feel comfortable mailing money today. And there's only so much you can buy locally with cash. And locally, things are more expensive. So there's really a no-win scenario for anybody. You buy online, the local business loses money. They can't compete. So I don't know. Oh, here we go. Now I know where I am. Oh, that's a pretty view today. Sun coming through the trees. Well, anyway, the point is my great nephew can vote on gun laws, but he can't buy a firearm. He can vote on the laws. So how does that help Republicans? Why would they support doing that? They shouldn't have done that. Because now you have a 19-year-old that's going to vote in favor for him having a firearm if it's on the ballot. And so are the Democrats. Democrats are going to vote against it. So, whew, that looks nice. Well, let's go up on the white trail. I don't think I've gone this way yet with you guys. Pretty much everywhere in here comes out in the same place. But anyway, you have what you should do is have 18 years old for everything, or 21 years old for everything. Pick one and stick with it. You know? And young people must feel like they're getting jerked around and used for everything, because they are. They're the future. And I gotta tell you, it's nice to see a bunch of young people with their heads on straight. It's not going to be a cakewalk for these socialists. It's not. There's always a counterculture. Oh, there's a squirrel hopping across the road there. So this younger generation now, a lot of them don't understand the dangers of socialism because they weren't taught. They've been exposed to TV shows and movies that have propaganda about it. Like it's not so bad. What's wrong with wanting to have equality among everybody? It's all great in concept, but that's not the natural structure of things. You know, the weakest in the herd get killed off to make the herd stronger. That is how humanity is, and they're thinking they can do something different. And we have record number of people with asthma now, different kind of compromised immune systems. We have weakened humankind. I can't even call it mankind anymore because YouTube will probably censor me. So we'll call it humankind. I've been programmed. I have learned. You don't comply, they censor you. So anyway, well, I guess what I'm saying is this younger generation, there's always a counterculture. There was one in the 70s and 80s that went against the Democrats. And there was a lot of conservatism in the United States on steroids. And you're starting to see that again with the Netherlands and Argentina, and people electing populists who say they're going to come in and fight against this horrible system that is making everybody miserable. And they did it the smart way. They didn't promise anything. They said these people are going to fight against us. They're going to do everything. Basically what they're saying is, like they did with Donald Trump and are doing with him, which is a big Supreme Court case coming up, because Jack Smith, the federal prosecutor, requested a ruling on the immunity clause that Trump keeps using. And if the Supreme Court sides with Trump on that, all of their stuff is going to disappear overnight. And I have a feeling, ooh, look how pretty that is. I have a feeling we might see something historic, either good or bad. So I'll have to wait and see what happens. But either way, 2024 is going to be a nightmare. And I just really pray that this open border policy that these people foolishly had, I'm pretty sure it's going to come back to bite us. I really think we're going to have a really bad terrorist attack like we saw in Israel. We'll see it here in American cities. It'll be in multiple cities at the same time. They have distributed people all over the country. Now, saying that doesn't mean anybody that's come here is bad and we should hate them and call them, no. You know, we're not racist and bigots. But 240 or 270 people on the known suspected terrorist list were apprehended at our border. And they came here from other places. They didn't come here from Mexico or Nicaragua. They went down to Central America and worked their way up through Texas and crossed the border as an illegal, undercover, incognito. And that seems to be the danger. And they're estimating by the end of this year, 10 or 11 million people have come into this country, which is greater than the population of most states. And that is just horrendous. All illegals. Now, if they came here legally and are going to contribute something besides violence, death, drugs, and murder and rape, and you know, and again, that overshadows the good ones that did come, that want a better life. I don't blame them. But it has to be done with sanity and not politics. And the Democrats play politics with every damn thing. Everything they do. It's all geared towards power. So this open border for them, they feel they're going to dramatically increase their vote total. But with the Electoral College, how much does that really matter? How much of a difference are they going to make in each state that typically doesn't always vote Democrat? So I think it'll be a problem. I do. We'll have yet to see it unfold as to how big a one. And, all right, other gun stuff. The ammo shortage. Yes, we are going to have an ammo shortage, but before your sphincter puckers over there like, oh no, I don't want to hear it, it's not going to be terrible. Every indicator says it's not. Basically, what's happened is there's a powder shortage due to the increased ammunition manufacture for world conflicts that are currently going on. And I was just reading yesterday that Remington, CCI, and other ammo manufacturing companies have gotten together to donate 1 million rounds of ammunition to Ukraine. And you know, the whole Ukraine thing is an ugly nightmare mess. I'm not a Ukraine fan. I'm not a Russia fan. I'm a fan of us minding our own business. And they try to push that if we don't do anything to help them, it will be our business on a bigger scale with an invasion of Europe. And that's a bunch of bunk. Putin is not Hitler. He doesn't have the resources Hitler does. Putin just wants what used to belong to Russia. And that's kind of what Hitler wanted too. I get that. But it's not the same. Putin's not going to do a blitzkrieg on fucking France. Okay, excuse my French. I know it's propaganda. It's fear-mongering. We're in a different age with technology where what you would get, more than likely, would be a nuclear holocaust. Not even at the push of a button. They probably have AI. Hopefully they have not entrusted things to AI. We've all seen the movie Terminator. That wouldn't be good. So anyway, so I don't think the ammo shortage is going to be dramatic. Prices will go up. I read a couple articles. They're predicting between 1 and 7% increase on most ammunition, with rifle rounds possibly increasing 10%. So basically, if you have a box of 9mm ammo that's $15.99, it'll cost you about $17.11, if my math is correct, if it's a 7% increase. And while that's not favorable, it's not going to stop anybody. And there's not going to be a shortage, like a supply shortage. There's going to be a shortage of powders and primers to make ammo. What I'm concerned about is the reloaders are going to have a powder shortage, and they're not going to be able to reload so much of their own stuff. I've already seen a couple of websites where the powder is disappearing. It's out of stock. So they're going to be buying factory ammo, whether they like it or not, which is going to dig into the supply aspect and increase demand. So I guess you get the gist of what I'm saying. So, oh, there's a squirrel. Heard something rustling around. They're foraging. So anyway, ooh, I'm sweating pretty good. So that's the other gun issue I had. There's people online already creating the panic. People are going to go out and panic buy because Newsweek magazine, which is a far left extremist propagandist rag, comes out with, a headline yesterday. Ammo prices are going to increase substantially. And they say that just to pucker the conservative sphincter and then go out and panic buy ammo, which will damage the market and create a shortage. Best I can theorize. Plus, they want to sell ads and clicks. So everything in the media is so exaggerated at this point, it's laughable. So yes, there'll be a powder shortage, primer shortage. Primer shortage is actually started before the powder shortage. from what I've seen on internet banter. And so, you know, it's to be expected. There's always going to be issues. We're not going to see the shortage that happened in 2014 with Obama Lama Ding Dong. And ooh, look at this ice. And we're not going to see an ammo shortage like we saw in 2020, which is really what got everybody's attention when they read ammo shortage in the headlines. There's going to be a little bit of a supply interruption. It's not going to be a shortage. So I've been seeing a bunch of ammo sales this week. I saw PMC Bronze 223, 29 feet per second, 2,900 feet per second stuff, full metal jacket or total metal jacket, for $9.99 a box on sale. So brass for you AR people. I don't want to shoot steel in my AR. Which I could actually understand that. For a self-defense situation you wouldn't want to, but at the range parts get worn out and have to be replaced anyways. But you'll probably get a casing stuck in chamber after it's been fired because it's steel. It is a hassle, or can be. AK-47s design, the tolerances are happy with them. Just find something that works for you. The ammo will be available. That's the point I'm making. So, well, it's turning into another internet sensationalism thing. And that's kind of always been the trend with people, always. I was thinking, it's kind of funny because I was walking here. Oh, there's a turkey. We got a gobblers. We got 1, 2, 3. 3 turkeys right there. I don't know if you can see those. Oh, he's shaking his feathers. Hey, that's cool. Oh, there's another one. It's 4. There's usually a whole bunch of them. But this thing does not have a zoom. But there they are right there. I'm sure you can see those. I got the GoPro on today. There's 1 right here. 3 over there. And they're not afraid of me. If I was turkey hunting right now, I'd have at least 1. Maybe 2. I got 2 shots off quickly, which I can. So, you know, that's another thing that makes me laugh. I'm sure people are on the internet, if they're watching this, that go turkey hunting, they're going to think I'm not funny. But there they are right there. I just walked up on them, and there they are. I didn't have to sit in a treehouse or a blind all day in camouflage, making weird turkey noises with my mouth. There they are. You know, they're turkeys. I don't understand the turkey hunting. If you go turkey hunting, please explain it to me. I'm talking right now. They hear me. Hi, fellas. Look, they're just walking. They don't care. So I don't understand the hoopla. Is that something somebody came up with to make money? You know, back in the old days, they'd walk through the woods and with a bow and arrow or a musket, and they would just shoot the damn things like that. You can walk right up on them. It's crazy. So anyway, I've always thought that was funny. Now, deer are a little more skittish, and if they smell you, they know you're there. But I have run into plenty of those too. And yeah, as soon as they see you, they take off. And turkeys, well, you just saw it for yourself right there. They didn't care. They did not care. I could have been walking through here with a shotgun and bagged the whole lot of them if it was turkey hunting season and in compliance with the law. So maybe they know it's not turkey hunting season and they're just taking for granted that I'm not going to shoot them, which would be an extraordinary thing for the brain size of a turkey. So anyways, we're continuing on the walk. And gun stuff. We're still waiting for the deadline in Illinois. And we're going to see if Governor Pritzker, in the beginning of January, they'll probably wait until they usher in the new legislature. If they have one they're ushering in February. And then I think they're going to contemplate on whether or not they're going to go house to house confiscating firearms from people that didn't comply. Because they know who they are, and I'm telling you right now, they already have a list. They're just making it official. You know, they already have a list, folks. You know, people pay with digital stuff, digital currency. They know what you bought. You know, if you're online buying a bunch of 5.56 and 2.23, they know you own something that shoots that. So they already have a list. And if they didn't hear from you, and the compliance thing, they seem to understand that it would be a rare thing for somebody to just collect ammo and don't own any firearms, if you get my meaning. So there's really not much. Again, if you go locally and you pay cash, there's no record of that. But they also say they don't have records of you purchasing firearms. It's supposed to be illegal for the government to keep a registry. That was part of the weapons ban in the early 80s. They banned fully automatic machine guns, which you can still own if you go through the proper process. You just can't go buy them, and manufacturers can't sell new ones. So anything before the ban you can buy. They're expensive, and you have to get a special permit from the governmente, which can take up to a year to process. And I think it's like somewhere between $250 and $400 to apply for that. You have to wait like a year, and they can just keep your money and deny you. They tell you up front that that's could happen. So I don't know what the deny rate is today, but well, we got this thing here just about frozen over now, softening up on the edges. Again, that is not safe to walk on. And we got a birdhouse right there. I don't see any birds. They might be nesting in there. It'd be a quiet little safe place for them to be. They'd be safe from any cats, or, and I say cats, I don't mean house cats. My brother and I were shooting last weekend, and hopping up the road we saw a bobcat, Maine bobcat. Those things are ornery looking. They this has a lot more water than the last time I came through. Be careful where I walk here. We got moss and wet leaves. So this all flooded in. That wasn't up here last time. So I have protection on me. I don't want to see any angry bears or bobcats. Maine black bears, though, are pretty harmless. The only time they are dangerous is if they have their cubs and you sneak up on them. They'll naturally be defensive, like anything will be. So I don't remember what's up this way. I think this goes up to that fireplace. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. Maybe we'll go this way. But that's a nice view right there. Places like that, when it freezes over early, which didn't happen this year, that's all lumpy now, but years ago that used to be a good place to play ice hockey, pond hockey, but not right now. And we'll walk up this way. Wow, look at that pretty view. Nice trees. I'm really thankful they made this here, because this would have had homes built on it, roads would be going through here. It would have been quote unquote civilized. Now this isn't the deep woods by any means, but looks nice. Actually got a bench right there if you want to sit on a bench and wait for some turkeys to come by. And so anyway, I go on my walks. I just talk about whatever pops in my head. Sometimes I get strayed from the point I was talking about. You have to forgive me for that. I also had a viewer that I blocked on my YouTube channel, which, by the way, you can't block people anymore. They don't call it blocking. They call hide this user from your channel. I thought that was blocking. But I guess you could still see them on the internet somewhere, even though they're not allowed to look at your channel. So I think the reason behind that is the same reason Elon Musk was contemplating getting rid of blocking people on Twitter, because that cuts down exponentially ad revenue. So any place you go online, the person you blocked doesn't see it, and they lose ad revenue. And I'm like, well, at what point does somebody's safety from a stalker come before money? So they feel if you just have basically you're muting somebody, they don't see you and you don't see them. Isn't that the same as blocking, more or less? So anyway, oh wow, this is pretty cool. I haven't been here yet with you guys. So this is a part of the forest here that had a hard time during the ice storm of '98. I think everybody remembers that. That's what all these downed trees are. All these trees were coated with ice, and you literally walking through like I am right now, and they were all coated with ice. These trees were falling during the night. I was living in Auburn at the time, and was living in a duplex with my girlfriend at the time, and the power had gone out. It was pitch black, and trees were falling all night long. And we were surrounded by trees, so it was a very horrendously nervous night. There was no heat. Power went out in January. Trees were falling. A big branch broke the windshield on our car. Trees were falling like this. And a lot of these have been here since then. They're rotted now. They're all soft and decaying, but a lot of them just snapped right off at the weight. They just and fell. So fortunately, we didn't have anything hit the house, but power was out for about 5 or 6 days. You had to worry about pipes freezing. There's things you can do for that. Like you can either leave your taps open so your water constantly keeps running, because running water doesn't freeze. It wasn't sub-zero temperatures, so that would have sufficed. If it was sub-zero, below zero, you'd probably want to turn the water off in your basement that comes into your house. And you know, a couple of years ago, the power went out where I am now, and I ran a generator for 4 days, 3 or 4 days, and it wasn't dramatic cold again. We were fortunate enough where the low temperature overnight was 26, and during the day it was almost 40. I was able to keep the house at 50 degrees with an oil-filled electric heater. It was okay, but the small generator was not enough if it was brutally cold. Yep, this goes up to the fireplace. So anyway, that's a brief little history on Lewiston, Maine. The worst place to get the ice storm was in Quebec, Canada, which isn't that far from here. And it really isn't. Quebec is shorter, let me put it this way, it's shorter distance on a map than it is to go to Boston from here. And we've gone to Boston many times, see Red Sox games at Fenway Park, Bruins games at the old Garden before that got torn down. And we got the new TD Garden, we've been there too. And so, oh, somebody made a snowman, I guess. And it's melted, because that's not a normal snow formation. Yep, I think somebody came here and made a snowman. And that's all that's left. Poor Frosty. Looks like he had an acorn cap. And there's Frosty's head. He's been murdered. Let's have a moment of silence for Frosty the snowman. Goodbye, Frosty. So, anyways, the problem with going to Quebec from here is you have to go down through southern Maine and then swing up into New Hampshire and then drive north into Canada. And that adds about twice the distance. So it comes out to being a lot further than it is driving. We did, though. We went to go see a Bruins game in Montreal. That was a fun experience. I was walking around in Montreal with a Bruins jersey on. I expressly remember one guy unloading a beer truck. He just looked at me, head to toe, looked at me and shook his head like I was walking around with my dork hanging out. They do not like the Boston Bruins at all. So anyway, oh, it is nice today. So this is the fireplace here you've seen on my walks. I'm just walking through different ways. It's a chance, an opportunity to gab to you guys, and thank you for watching the channel and all that stuff. And we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. So you know, the other thing too, people are hoping that, you know, things can go back to the way they were. We're waiting, like things are going to go back to the way they were eventually. And listen, folks, it's not going to happen. They have taken over everything. They are piling on, and people have to fight back. That's the only thing that is going to return your life to some normalcy. That's it. Don't sit back and do nothing. That's what they want you to do. You got to get involved. And I know when people say that, they're like, oh man, what do you mean? You know, do I have to run for office? And well, if you can run for office, run for office. If you can run for city council, run for city council. I had a friend of mine years ago ran for city council. He filled out an application, and I think he paid about $35. He filled out the form, paid $35, and he signed up for on the ballot to run for city council. So the answer to that is you can run for school council, you can run for city council, but you can make a difference. And a lot of your local policies are the ones that affect you the most right away. So it's something that you can do. And if you're angry at the system and you want to commit to doing something, well, there you go. That's a good way to do it. So it's all doable, okay? All right, we're gonna go through this way. I don't know if you're keeping track at home, but we have walked 2 miles. I was just checking my stuff, make sure it's recording, which it is. We got this fireplace here. I've seen this before. And looks like somebody threw some trash in there. They probably figure it'll get burned up someday, which it won't. Oh, that's nice. See, look at that. See that right there? That, my friends, is a syringe. Now, is that a syringe from illegal drugs? Or is that a syringe because somebody has insulin with them and they were out here walking, felt funny, pricked themselves to see if their blood sugar was this, that, or the other thing? We don't know. But there is a syringe in the fireplace that I don't recall ever seeing before when I was younger. That is a problem now in Maine. And pretty much everywhere. There's a drug problem. So that's really unfortunate. There's an intersection by our house. I was going on a walk and there was about six syringes in the crosswalk that somebody threw out of their car. And they had needles on them. So it's like, why do people do things like that? So society is damaged, okay? And that's why I say if you're sitting around waiting for it to fix itself, when is the last time, okay? And this is really an important point. When is the last time anything has fixed itself that's broken? Can you answer that? It's real easy. 0. A big friggin' goose egg. The bearings on your bicycle are worn out, making noise. The only way to fix it is to replace the bearings. It ain't gonna fix itself. You got a loud pulley in your vehicle that's making noise. It's not gonna go away on its own. I currently have one of those happening, but I know what it is. It's not a dire emergency. And, but things like that, they don't fix themselves. Nothing fixes itself. So government is not different. If anything, government will get worse. Because it is clearly apparent the leftists, aka Marxist, has taken over our government. They have. You need to admit that. I think I'm going to go beyond calling them socialist. I think it's worse than that at this point. They want to abolish the Supreme Court, or at least control it. They want to do like these other countries in South America. They still have a Supreme Court, but it's not a Supreme Court. It's just another wing of the party that does what the party wants. That's what they want here in America. So they'll do something like keep the Second Amendment, but you'll be like in Ireland, where you're just relegated to owning a single-barrel shotgun and black powder pistols, and they'll tell you that, well, you can own firearms. What are you crying about? We didn't ban firearms. We just heavily restricted what you can buy and own. So they're going to alter the Second Amendment to accommodate that. They'll also alter the First Amendment to put hate speech in it as not being included in free speech. And they are going to have watchdogs watching to make sure that is adhered to, which means, like in Europe, you're going to end up in court because you spoke up against illegal immigration and get labeled a xenophobe, a bigot, a racist, because the virtuous public, nobody likes a racist. I don't like racist, but if they pass that, something like that for the First Amendment, call it hate speech because you criticize immigration, that would, according to the government, make me a racist. And that's the thing. There's nothing you can do to fight against it. Nothing. And they have allowed it in Europe, and they want to do that here. That's my point. And given the chance, they will, because they're doing everything else. Anything they can take, they just take it. So, all right, now we're gonna walk down this way. I don't have any real answers, folks. I really don't. I'm not some big-headed friggin' internet genius. I'm not this big-time influencer. I just say what's on my mind. You either agree with it or you don't, but the point is, it's my opinion. I'm not always right on everything. That's the thing. So, anyway, you know, sometimes people you're close to, you have disagreements, and sometimes people make it a priority to absolutely be right. They'll keep talking about something until you either ignore them or you get in a fight about it. And I have chosen to ignore. It's a lot easier than dealing with. I just don't feel like arguing. I do a lot of that online. I've stopped doing that too. Don't argue with people. Now, if I go this way, I'm gonna have a frozen rock down by Whale Rock. That's the last time I went through here. We saw turkeys, which is why I want to go, but I'm probably not going to see anything. I'm going to fall, hit my head, and they'll find my corpse in the spring. But anyways, I think the worst thing when you're arguing with somebody and they absolutely just won't listen to what you're saying is you already know the truth about it and they don't. So they will defend it until their last friggin' dying breath. And you need to recognize that and then just leave it alone. Because it'll be one of those moments where they'll be watching something or another gun channel and they're gonna go, oh yeah, oh, I remember he said that and I argued with him about it. And then, you know, you just end up feeling bad. The best thing to do is to think about it and have a discussion. You know, why can't you just say, why do you believe it's that way? Then you can say, well, I think it's that way because of this. And the other person can go, but I remember reading this about that. Don't you think maybe this contributes to that? What do you think? And just have a discussion. But people don't do that anymore. They get short, they get cross. And everybody today is quick to tell somebody basically just shut the F up, or you just, you know, and it's really too bad. People used to talk about things and they don't anymore. And that's understandable. So sometimes I guess the point I'm making is when you know you're right, you're better off just being quiet about it and let them find out on their own, because they're going to find out on their own anyway. And they didn't want to take a second to listen to what you had to say because they got all defensive about something, like you're picking on them or something, which isn't the case. I don't know why some people do that. Some people do that. Well, nobody likes to have something they said pointed out, but there's a way to react to it and there's a way not to. And the way not to is to get defensive and angry about it. That's something else. That's a personality thing. But anyways, we're walking on through here. More ice. See, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm going to come up on that frozen thing in the ground and do like Charlie Brown. I'm going to fall down and kill myself, he'd say. I'm surprised they haven't banned the peanuts yet, because they talk the way people used to talk. I'll fall down and kill myself. I'm surprised they haven't gone in and edited hurt or harm and take the word kill out, because it's encouraging suicidal thoughts. So, and I have to tell you, a lot of today's younger generation are very weak mentally. They have been raised, they're afraid of everything, their own shadow, somebody else's shadow. And they're also afraid that clouds are going to cover the sun, because then they won't have a shadow to be afraid of. There's people like that too. So I'm going to go over here and peek over this ledge into the woods. And shadows are getting long. I don't want to be out here when it gets dark. It gets dark now at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What time we got here? Well, we still got an hour and a half. Hour and a half from now it'll be dark. So I'm going to finish my walk. And we don't have ice on the rocks, so I think I'll be safe. But they are still slippery anyways, without ice. I'll hold on to a tree here, one over here. There's some ice here, I'll watch out for. So, anyways, whew. Yeah, see this right here? This is leaves. Leaves can be the kiss of death, man, I'm telling you. They hide what's underneath it. If there's a patch of ice under there and you don't see it, and the leaves are sitting on there loose, whew, and I'm walking downhill. So gravity is just gonna do what gravity does. And let's see if I can find something here. Something I just saw here. Yeah, here we go. We have some acorn shells. I'm gonna have to take my gloves off to do this. But years ago, when we were kids, we learned to make a whistle out of an acorn. That's all you need right here. Just one of these tops on an acorn. And you put your thumbs on it like this. And you angle them like that, so you have that pie wedge in it. And I'll see if I can still do this. Been many years since I've done this. See that? Oh, I messed it up. There's a brittle acorn shell. Anyway, you got to hear it. But that is an acorn shell whistle. That's all you need right there. So if you get lost in the woods and you don't know how to whistle with your mouth or your hands, you know, some people put their fingers in their mouth and they whistle. I've never been able to do that. Something like I just did, somebody would know that somebody's there, and you could probably get help for yourself that way. So maybe that'll help you out. Then when you're done with it, you just chuck it back. How cool is that? See? I'm good for something. You learned how to make an acorn whistle. So, this ground here is still frozen, not soft here, so this part here is not getting sunshine because apparently the sun angles that way, and it's over the ridge now behind me, up that way through the trees, so sun doesn't hit this, and now that's all froze solid. And I'm probably going to regret going this way. But anyways, I plan on walking 5 miles today. I'm probably at about 2.5 now. Halfway through my walking. I'm not going to record the entire walk on video. This is just for the Woods Walk Gun Talk number 6, which I think is going to be winding down shortly as soon as we walk through this portion of it down below and up around through that open field. And then I'm going to decide if I'm going to go for my city street walk and add on to it, which will give me a 7-mile walk. I haven't done a lot of walking lately because of the weather, so I'm not walking 20-25 miles a week anymore. And this is the first walk I go on in almost 2 weeks, I think. So all going to depend how I physically feel and stamina and stuff like that, because I'm not a spring chicken. 55 years old, and as I've stated in past videos, you feel every single injury you've ever had at this point. Maybe a couple you haven't had yet. They're brewing, they're on the way. So speaking of that, my younger brother was in Virginia working, Alexandria, and they have this thing where they rent all these scooters. I started talking about it in a previous video and I never finished the story. I got sidetracked. So you have these scooters you can rent in an app, and it tells you how much battery's left in them, and you can just go ahead and rent. Hi, how you doing? So you can just go ahead and rent scooters, and the app tells you how much batteries are left in them. And so basically you just walk around, you pick one up, and so he rented a scooter because he was going to go to the airport and come home just because he wanted to go shooting. Come home for the weekend, shoot one day, then leave and go back to the airport. Which means you really want to go shooting, because that's not cheap. You got to rent a vehicle, there's a plane ticket, blah blah blah. But he had been gone all summer and he wanted to go shooting. Can't do that in where he was. It's basically Washington DC. It's heavily restricted, and Virginia's gun laws might be a little different. Actually, probably quite a bit different. But still, that area probably has ordinances where you can't carry because of governmental things. I don't know the law there. But anyways, on his way to the airport with the scooter, he came around a corner and got surprised by somebody and was doing the age-old, I gotta protect my cell phone, instead of protecting himself. And he took a header, literally, scraped up his face and tore up his shoulder, his rotator cuff, and got a pretty serious injury out of it, which he is still feeling. And that was in August. Every weekend, though, he's getting some mobility back, and it will get to a certain point where it's not going to do any more. He hasn't quite reached that yet. I remember when I was in my 20s, I blew out my hamstring really bad. The whole back of my leg was purple, filled up with blood. It was nasty. Didn't need surgery on it, but I definitely could not play ice hockey like I used to until almost a year later. But then, you know, like with everything else, recovered. Takes a while. I don't know how much healing he's gonna do. But Whale Rock, 890 feet dead end. We've seen that before. Whale Rock's not interesting enough to go look at it this time of year. It's going to look the same 80 years from now, 100 years from now. This is where we saw all the turkeys the last time, through here. Not today. I just heard a dog. That's not good. Dogs aren't allowed here. I'm protected though, but I really don't want to protect myself against a dog. I like dogs. I love dogs. Let's walk on these rocks. This doesn't seem to be frozen, which is good. It's all wet right here. Normally that would all be ice. Froze solid. So, water running down that way. Very unusual to have running water like that this time of year, that much of it anyway. Now, like I said, this week coming up, we got one day we're going to have 1.5 inches of rain, And then another day, like the next day, it's like a separate storm. It's going to come in, and we are going to have another inch of rain. So it's going to be 2.5 inches of rain this week. And there will be some flooding in low-lying areas, so be careful. Very unusual weather compared to what we've had in the past. That's not climate change or global warming. It's we have had instances in the past where the weather's gone crazy. I remember about 10-15 years ago, and I think that was also an El Nino, whatever the hell it is, in the Pacific, dictates our weather, where it was literally 50 to 60 degrees every day all the way up until February. And then it got cold and we had a lot of storms. So that entire winter we didn't have snow on the ground, which is very bizarre. But that was 10-15 years ago. And the earth has cycles. It's just what it does. So every time there's a forest fire somewhere, you can't go around screaming about climate change. And I still think a lot of the fires in Canada were set on purpose by environmental terrorists. And that's not conspiracy. That's happened in California. And I actually got arrested when trying to leave California on the plane. They had flown there from Minnesota, some liberal Looney Tune who wanted to perpetuate his religion, the climate cult. So he went to California and set fires, which ended up killing people, destroying millions of dollars in property, just so they can have their thing to do on the internet, I guess. Which is pretty sad and sick, really. These people are sick. These people are mentally ill. Far left extremism. I mean, liberalism is a mental disorder at this point. I don't see any sanity. They're not the liberals that used to be around. Now, Bill Maher is a liberal. He still has some common sense. He still has a lot of things I don't agree with. But then he's not afraid to talk about things I do agree with. That's what liberals used to be. First thing they used to do is they used to love the Constitution and protect it. The liberals today don't do that, which is why I call them Marxists, because they are. And they get offended when you call them that. They deny it. Well, you can't deny it when that's what you're doing, by definition. Well, Marx didn't write this or that. Yeah, he did. He did. I mean, what's the difference? You want to be called a Marxist, or do you want to be called a Leninist? Do you want to be called a Bolshevik? It's all the same thing. It's a different variant. It's like buying a Led Zeppelin record, and it's a black vinyl, clear vinyl, red vinyl. It's a Led Zeppelin record, okay? It just looks different. That's what these people are. And they absolutely disgust me to my core. We have enemies now in this country. I didn't want to say that, but we have enemies of the Republic who want to destroy it and replace it with a liberal utopia, which is a one-party state, socialist state, Marxist socialist state. And nobody's going to tell me otherwise, because that's what they're doing. That's what it is. We see it. So there's that rock wall again I showed you many times. It goes all the way up that way, which used to be a property boundary. Border. I can hear the wind up in the trees. We have a storm coming, and this storm is going to be warm. It's going to be in the mid-50s a couple days. Absolutely torrential monsooning rains. So, which is okay with me, because I don't need to fire up the snowblower and clean it. I've only had to do that once this year. And that was an amount that I normally wouldn't have to do that if it was normally cold and the snow was normally like the powder type snow. I like that loose frozen snow that's when it's cold. You can just about clean it with a leaf blower. But I usually have this, I get this yellow push scoop with two handles that come together. And you push the scoop and you act like a snowplow. Anything that's just 3 inches or so. I got this whole pattern I use on the property. Takes about a half hour to clean everything. And with a snowblower, and we get a storm, I can clean the whole property in about an hour. And the reason why I say that is the city out front plows 4 lanes of traffic, or 2 lanes on a 4-lane road. Plows all the snow, and it like extra buries the driveway, and it takes a long time to clean that. Oh look, a little chipmunk. Look at him, he's looking at me. Hi little buddy. Hi. How you doing? Isn't that a cool view? Look at him. Can't tell if he's got nuts in his mouth. You got any nuts in your mouth? He's got pouches there. Is he gonna come up and look at me? You gonna come say hello? I got a little chipmunk. All right, I'll let you get back to your business. Oh, he took off. He won his little staring contest with me. Well, that was cool. Ah, ice. Frozen mud. And what happens is it freezes and then it thaws out and it makes like these stalactites in the mud. It makes it difficult to walk on. It gets crunchy and gives way when you walk. All right. We're gonna have some sunshine. I started cooling off walking the way I just came because I lost the sun. My sweat that I had was starting to get chilly. Now I'll warm up again in the sun. I don't know how much battery I got left. I should probably check that. Nothing I hate more than a video just stops recording and